Alaska is gargantuan. It is already impressive in area, but even more so in wingspan. From the western end of the Aleutian Islands to the eastern end of the Panhandle, it measures about 3,654 kilometers long. That makes Alaska longer than the vast majority of the world's whole countries, including some hefty ones, like Mexico and Kazakhstan. At this length, it is easily the US's longest state. But which state is the second longest? Welcome to TwoLambdaPlusBlack. I am Heirua. Before we proceed, feel free to pause the video to ponder what you think the second longest state is. California, Texas, and Montana all seem like prime candidates. Let's measure them up. California is about 1,336 kilometers long. Texas is about 1,302 kilometers long. Montana is about 1,012 kilometers long. So you were correct if you guessed Hawaii. That's right, Hawaii is about 2,579 kilometers long. Now, don't get me wrong, the main Hawaiian islands are only about 623 kilometers long. But remember, Hawaii consists of not just these islands, but the entire chain of tiny islands northwest of them. Well, almost the entire chain. We'll get to the exception later. In the east end of the island of Hawaii to the west end of Kure Atoll measures about 2,579 kilometers. Put in other words, without resizing Hawaii, you could move it into an arrangement where one end is in California and the other end is in Florida. Now, what's the exception? The exception is Midway Atoll, which is technically a US territory and not part of the state of Hawaii, but it is not at the end of the Hawaiian chain, so its non-inclusion in the state of Hawaii does not affect the length of Hawaii. This has amusing implications for time zones. Hawaii is in time zone UTC-10, and Midway Atoll is in UTC-11, so as you sail northwestwards along the Hawaiian chain, you are usually in UTC-10, but eventually you cross into UTC-11 territory as you approach Midway Atoll, and then you cross back into UTC-10 after leaving Midway. Islands can be tiny, but when you include the expanses of ocean between them, their size really adds up. For Hawaii, this manages to add up to a length not just longer than California or Texas, but nearly twice as long as them. And hey, remember how I opened this video by mentioning that Alaska is so long it's longer than even Mexico and Kazakhstan? You know what's a country that Alaska is not longer than? Kiribati. Thanks for watching, and thanks to my patrons for funding this channel. And as always, remember to love the night.